When did the popular kid's life fall apart in a few seconds? Unfortunately, a cheerleader from my school had a four-wheeling accident that left her in an almost vegetative state. Through years and years of hard work on her part, she's been able to gain a little more independence. However, she'll never be exactly the same as she was before the accident. It's really sad and crazy how quickly your life can change from an accident. 3 popular kids went swimming in a quarry. Only 2 came out. It sucks because the one that died was popular for all the right reasons. He was a genuinely good dude. I was the weird kid, but his locker was right next to mine, and he was friendly every single day to every single person. He was an only child, and his dad had died when he was 2. Was really happy-go-lucky, and he was popular because he was outgoing, supportive, warm and kind to everybody without fail. And although he was friends with the kind of kids who bullied people, he was the first person to tell them to knock that shit off if he saw it. When we were 16, his mum, who was one of the nicest ladies I ever met in our small town, was crushed to death by a semi-trailer that drifted into her lane. He dropped out of school, he stopped talking to anybody, and he refused to let anyone visit him. I have no idea what became of him. Sorry Jay. I hope your life got better. My brother was the popular kid in school. He was loved by everyone, and most of the people I graduated with know him, but since we have different last names didn't know we were related until I told them. He started pills in high school, then coke, then heroin. In and out of jail, forced into rehab instead of serving jail time. Lived in our mom's basement until he was 30. He finally moved out, but my parents pay his rent. He's a year sober now though. The captain of the football team underwent surgery his senior year. I was 13 on the middle school team. His younger brother and I were very close, so I was around him a lot, so I looked up to him like an older brother. He drove me to early practices, was very smart, dated a pretty cheerleader, not a mean bone in his body, he had it all. For a 13-year-old, he was my hero. After his surgery he got hooked on painkillers. He went from painkillers to heroin. He was been arrested multiple times for theft and drug possession. This went on for years. I would always ask my friend from middle school how he was doing. It never got better. He died last year. Drugs suck. I miss my hero. There was this kid that I went to high school with almost 20 years ago who was 2 grades ahead of me, seemed like the popular kid. He had a hot GF. He was really funny, decent at sports and didn't seem to have issues. Anyways, turned out one day his mom came home to him laying in the basement with a bullet wound in his head. I was told he used a shotgun to kill himself, but loaded it birdshot. Because of this he didn't die. I now see him walking around town, and he can't speak anymore and walks as if he had a stroke. One side of his body doesn't work properly. Guy on the football team sent a girl's nudes to the entire football team and a good portion of people in my grade. Got arrested during class. I haven't seen him since. He got made fun of because he wanted to wait to have sex with his new GF. So he caved and did it. Teen pregnancy. This guy I used to hang out with in elementary school was pretty overweight, but I'd had the biggest crush on him. I lost track of him for a few years, but in high school he came back and had lost all the weight. He was pretty athletic and was generally well liked. I didn't talk to him, but the guy seemed decent. I guess he liked driving like an idiot. The year after he graduated he wrapped his car around a pole. They had to use the jaws of life to pull him out of his car, but it was too late. Had died on impact. There had been multiple reports that night of people calling the cops to complain about his reckless driving around town. I just remember that chubby little boy I used to spend recess with every day. I'm not sure I would call him the popular kid, but in some circles he was. He was a bit of an arrogant ass in my opinion, but had money and liked to spread it around. His dad was a wealth manager. Lots of friends/family/community members were clients. A few years after high school it came out that dad had embezzled millions. Their entire wealth was stolen from friends and family. This rocked him hard. Dad went to jail, and he changed his name and totally became a different person. I saw him after that and barely recognized him. His personality and even his posture was different. I felt really bad for him. I ended up having a really good talk with him, and I can only imagine what he has gone through. I actually ran into one of the super popular kids at the local bar when I came home from college. She would never give me the time of day in high school and I for sure thought she didn't even know I existed, but she approached me at the bar, super drunk, and said, "Hey, didn't I go to high school with you?" She then proceeded to tell me she wished she had been nicer to more people in high school, and that she has no idea what she's doing with her life. Honestly feels good to know that she's thought about how she treated people back then. Not sure if that's the norm or just a weird occasion. My stepmom was an asshole in high school. She went to her high school reunion and starting talking to a girl she used to make fun of like they were friends. The girl said, "You made my life hell in high school. Why the hell would I want to talk to you?" My stepmom said, "We were just having fun." The girl said, "I wasn't. Maybe you were." Lost control of his car when he and his best friend were driving to Taco Bell at night. He came out of it with a fractured collarbone. His friend died on the spot. He was really close with his friend's parents too and vice versa. He made a few posts on Facebook on how he was an idiot and how sorry he was. The dead friend's sister and parents made it very clear that they didn't blame him. It was winter, black ice, and he was 100% sober. Before he was, like, a stereotypical popular dude, but in the wholesome way. Dropped out of school and became addicted to painkillers. Don't know what happened to him afterwards, but it was just sad for everyone. Her mom was diagnosed with dozens of brain tumors the beginning of our senior year and died before Christmas. Girl went from stable, well off, and beautiful to a wreck, then off the map. After that, we lost 4 students violently, including 2 sisters stabbed by their stepdad. Stuff quit. Pretty much no one in our senior class made it in life. Suicides followed graduation. 1999 was a really tough year for our school. In the 5th grade, our terrible teacher at the time told the entire class that the reason the popular kid acted out was because he didn't get enough attention at home. She did this in front of the entire class, and he left the room sobbing. My entire perspective of him changed that day, and we all already knew that the teacher was a terrible person, but that solidified it in all of our minds. Had this cliff that was really dangerous, and to keep kids away the genius local spread around the rumor that it was haunted. Naturally the cool kids wanted to go there like all the time. Once the gang of those supposedly cool kids, 4 in total, went there and no one really knows what happened. One kid jumped to his death. The stories of the rest didn't pan out correctly. Each one had a different version. They were high. No one was jailed. But all 3 were depressed and eventually spiraled out of control. 1 or 2 years later, one was in a car accident, drunk, and one committed suicide. Football star and lead singer of our choir was arrested for raping a freshman. It split the school in half because there was no evidence, and he was black and she was white. He was convicted, and years later she said she lied at a party to a bunch of people when drunk. He rejected her, and she was angry, so that was her revenge. Even with that statement they wouldn't reopen the case though. She has a happy life with kids in a nearby town, and he gets out in 5 years and it's fucking sad. One kid on school was popular only because he liked to start shit and bully everyone. So most people were friends with him just to avoid being a victim. One day he tried that on the wrong kid, got beat up so bad to the point he started crying. Honestly I think it was a win for the bully because it gave him a pretty good wake up call. Became less of a bully and is now quite humble. Well, a super popular cheerleader girl at my school ended up falling downstairs and broke her back and got paralyzed and has to use a wheelchair ever since. Blech. Cool kid from my school got caught trying to take his lifelong best friend 11-year-old daughter's virginity. He spent months grooming her via text message before her mother saw a message from him with his intentions clearly spelled out. She hog-tied him when he came to her house, called the police with the proof, and the mom ended up going to jail. The whole event was broadcast on FB Live, with him fully admitting to his intentions. Apparently the local PD already had a file going on him, and this sort of thing doesn't help the investigation. Which is fair enough, I guess, but it's 2 years later, and that fucko is still free.